Before we get started today, I do want to share some housekeeping items. Today's presentation will be recorded and you will get a copy of that recording after the webinar. Feel free to share that with any of your colleagues and peers that weren't able to make it today. And look forward to an email from Lisa with that recording after the fact. We would love to answer any questions that you have. Both Jeff and I do a lot of these and we're pretty good at being interactive on them. So if you have questions during the webinar, go ahead and put them in the Q&A. Feel free to talk amongst yourselves in chat or reach out to us via chat as well. But we will answer your questions in Q&A first. So if you have any pressing ones, go ahead and start putting them in Q&A right now. If not, ask them as we go and we will answer them either in the moment or at the end. We do have a couple really great announcements at the end after the presentation and after the demos. So if you wait and join us for the full webinar post demo, we've got some really cool announcements for you as well. I'm going to start at the top here with Jeff. He's our sales engineer. He's going to do all of our heavy lifting and spend most of the day in the demo environment showing you the NinjaOne platform and all of the products we have for you. I'm just here to talk about the marketing stuff, what we're doing, why we're NinjaOne, that sort of thing. So don't worry, it won't be death by PowerPoint today. We'll spend probably half an hour or longer in the product showing it off, but we have to get through some slides first. So what's our agenda for today? First, I want to talk to you a little bit about NinjaOne. All of you have probably heard of us as Ninja RMM before this, so I want to give you an intro to NinjaOne, why we changed our name, that sort of thing. Talk to you a little bit about what makes NinjaOne different, both from Ninja RMM and from other endpoint management solutions in the market. Then we're going to get into our product demos, and we're going to focus on RMM and endpoint management, our backup solution called Ninja Data Protection, our ticketing solution, and documentation. There are some other things that we have in our platform that you'll see as we go, but those are going to be our focus areas. And then at the end, we really want to talk and show you why our products are more than a sum of their parts, right? So this is what we're calling our platform demo, and showing you how our solutions work together to add additional value. Okay. So as an intro to NinjaOne, our goal with the NinjaOne platform is to simplify IT operations. I'm sure all of you still think of us as Ninja RMM. I mean, heck, I think of us as Ninja RMM half the time. So before I get into what the NinjaOne platform is, I want to take a minute and talk about why we changed our name. Ninja RMM has been a fantastic name for us, and for a long time has been a perfect fit for our company. It's been a great descriptor of what we do, and so when you're searching for Ninja RMM, you're getting an RMM product. But in the past year and a half, we've released a ton of new features and capabilities and products that have expanded beyond what a traditional RMM is and what it offers. And so our name had to change and expand to recognize the fact that we are no longer just an RMM or endpoint management provider. While the RMM functionality that we have is still a core part of what we do and is critical to our success and your success, we've become so much more than that, and our new name, NinjaOne, recognizes that change. So let's talk about what the NinjaOne platform is. NinjaOne is a unified IT operations platform that gives you everything you need to manage endpoints and support users anywhere at scale from one centralized console. Now, that sounds a lot like an RMM plus some, and that's exactly how you should think about the NinjaOne platform, right? It's a IT management solution that is built for 100% remote management, and gives you everything you need both to support endpoints and users. And I think that's really the biggest differentiation between RMM and unified IT operations, right? RMM has always been traditionally endpoint focused. It's always been about getting visibility into an endpoint, managing that endpoint, maybe maintaining it, doing some automation around it, right? But the focus has been less on the user. And both with endpoints becoming less important to IT management and users being the central focus point, with the expansion of SaaS, fewer things are installed on endpoints, fewer things are the endpoint itself is becoming less critical. It's more about the workspace, if you will, right? And the user's workspace. Our addition of ticketing and documentation and backup move us beyond that RMM endpoint focus and allow us to also focus on supporting users. And that's really where the differentiation happens, right? We think this change is critical, both for us and for IT management broadly, right? The endpoint is only as useful as it is to the user. And so your focus will shift as well to the user. So we've taken what we see as the critical aspects of RMM and endpoint management, and what has helped us succeed over the last several years, let's say, the fast, modern, intuitive interface, the usability that we bring to the market, the maturity and power of our capabilities, and brought them all into our new solutions. So again, our RMM and endpoint management capabilities still make up the core of our platform. And we're not just saying that. You're going to see a ton of new features and functionalities that fall into the RMM or endpoint management category over the next year. In fact, our development plan has more engineers and QA people focused on RMM than all of our other products combined. So we haven't taken away from RMM development. We've simply added a ton of new developers and QA teams and product managers to support these new products. So you'll still see that quick pace of growth on the RMM side while we're also adding and developing rapidly on these new products. Because of that development, many of our features, many of our capabilities have evolved from being a part of endpoint management or a part of RMM to really being fully fledged products that, while they don't necessarily, they could stand alone as their own product. For example, our patch management solution is robust enough that we could likely sell it as its own standalone solution. We don't, but it's evolved and matured enough to be at that level. And so you see, we've pulled it out as its own module within the platform. Similarly, with remote control and documentation, we've made these robust solutions that could be best in market outside of endpoint management or outside of the platform. But instead, we've brought them up as first-class citizens in our platform. In addition, as I said, we've spun out additional development teams to focus on bringing new products to market, like backup, like ticketing. And rather than delivering you an MVP and letting it iterate over and over the years, what we've really focused on doing is building fairly mature, solid products that you are able to use from day one in a production environment. And our plan is to have all of our products that we currently have in market be fully GA by the end of the year. So if you're worried about using a beta product, ticketing, for example, currently has a beta flag on it. Those will be GA by end of year. So, you won't have worries about stability or reliability. Ultimately, what we've created with the NinjaOne platform is a single centralized solution that gives every single IT management function in your organization the visibility, control, and tools that you need to improve stability, reliability, and support across all of your managed environments, whatever they may look like. So that sounds great. That was a lot of marketing speech, but why do you care, right? And I think we can boil that down to really 4 pillars. And what we think are the four most important reasons you should look at a platform like Ninja if you're not already using it. And if you are using it, you should expand your use of it to our other products. The first is we have a deep organizational focus on simplification. We will simplify how you manage IT, period. Everything you need to manage your endpoints and support your users is in one place, in one unified console. That means there's no context switching. That means you don't have to integrate disparate solutions. That means you don't have to know the name of an endpoint and go look it up in another system. It means you don't have to find a user somewhere else and tie them back to the system. It means you can manage everything in one single pane of glass that is seamlessly unified and integrated. The second one is that we make you more efficient. There are a lot of solutions out there in the market today that do some of what we do, all of what we do differently. But ultimately, our focus is on making you more efficient, right? The capabilities that Ninja offer aren't unique to the market. What is unique is that we have a incredibly fast, modern, and intuitive interface that allows you to get the tools you need faster, get things done faster with fewer clicks, that allow you to easily start using automation and shift the focus for your team from maintenance and ongoing tasks to more critical, strategic, high value activities that really move the needle in your organization. There is no one in the market who will give you more efficiency from using our tools than Ninja. The third one is managing anything, anywhere. This has been how MSPs manage for a long time, right? Being able to manage any device anywhere with one tool. And now a lot of tools out there today have started expanding their portfolio so you can manage, maybe they started Windows only, they added Mac, maybe they added Linux, maybe they're adding networking devices. Many of them don't. Many of them just have Windows or Windows and Mac. Ultimately, though, a lot of solutions still have an on-premises focus where they require a network, an endpoint being on a network, the company network. Maybe they require the device to be on the company domain. Maybe they require a device to be physically in the building. Ultimately, Ninja is 100% location, network, and domain agnostic. And so it allows you to manage any endpoint anywhere in the world, as long as it has an internet connection and the Ninja agent on it, without the need for hardware and the cost and labor associated with managing that hardware. And last but not least, while Ninja is not a security company, and we will never position ourselves as a cybersecurity solution, we are security adjacent, and we know how critical security is to everyone on the phone today, right? So between the unprecedented visibility that something like Ninja gives you, the robust automated patching that we provide in our platform, and our integrations with leading security solutions like Bitdefender, Gravity Zone, and our backup solution, we will help protect your environment from threats, right? So we have the unique ability to touch the entirety of the security, let's say, process between ourselves and, for example, our Bitdefender integration to help you prevent attacks by reducing vulnerabilities and hardening your endpoints. Working with Gravity Zone, again, for example, to actually stop attacks, and if an attack happens, prevent it from going too far. And then if an attack is successful, be able to restore all of your data quickly and easily and spin up new endpoints using the Ninja agent very effectively, so that you can protect yourself and your environments from ransomware. So how are we different? The first three, if you've ever talked to a Ninja salesperson before, or talked to someone in account management, or really talked to anyone at Ninja, you've probably heard these before, right? We have what we consider to be the best user experience in the market. It's fast, it's modern, it's intuitive. You can pick up an intern out of high school, and all you have to do is teach them IT. They'll pick up Ninja just like that, just that quickly, in days. It's easy to set up and learn. You don't need someone to sit around and manage your endpoint. They can all be your endpoint. Sit around and manage your RMM or your endpoint management platform. You can set it up and use it without having a team dedicated to management. Everyone can focus on delivering value to your organization. And I think unique in the IT management space is we have a support team that is focused on transformational, not transactional support. And our IT leadership, our support leadership is, they have the stop button, right? They are integrated into our product development and release process in a way that really no other company has. But the three kind of how we're different bullet points on the bottom are new, and are really tied back to our platform as a solution, right? The first is a unified data model. Our solution is proprietary and built natively and seamlessly together. We haven't gone out and bought companies and stitched them together fairly poorly. We have built all of this on a single data model that allows your contacts and your devices and your tickets and your documentation all to be fully mapped to each other. You never have to do any mapping or figure out how to make things work together. It's all going to work together seamlessly, and that's critical because it becomes your single source of truth. Which, because so many solutions out there today have been bought and stitched together, really just isn't possible. The second is shared functionality. You are able to use the core functionality of any product within the any other product in Ninja. So if you have a failed backup, you can have it create a ticket or create an alert. If you are using documentation, you can map that to a device and then easily click through and find that device in the endpoint management solution. If you need an end user to create a ticket, you can have them log into the end user portal and create a ticket, view it, edit it, and manage their ongoing support relationship with you, right? So there's a ton of shared functionality across products. And then last but not least, and what we're going to focus the end of this webinar on is our cross-product automation. We have built Ninja and the NinjaOne platform to allow different products to interact across barriers, and that allows an unprecedented amount of automation that's really going to get you back time and really makes our products a 1 + 1 = 3 solution. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Jeff. He is going to show you the demo and talk about the interesting stuff, and then we'll come back for some cool announcements. So Jeff, I'm going to hand it off to you. Hey, Jeff, you're on mute.
You'd figure after 18 months, I would have figured this out. So hopefully everybody can see my screen now. I'm in an EU environment since I know this is intended for our EU partners. And this also has some of our newer 5.3 features that launched in the EU and OC a few weeks ago, and they are about to release here in North America starting tomorrow evening. So let's go do a quick broad overview of the RMM side of the platform, the endpoint management here. You can always generate your installer up here in the top by clicking the plus sign from anywhere on the dashboard and then going into add a device, at which point you can select either our network monitoring software if you're monitoring switches, routers, anything of that nature, but then also your OS-based agents for Linux, Mac, as well as Windows. Just select your organization here. I'll select Omni Consumer Products, the Detroit HQ, and then generate my installer here. And that will give me about a 33 megabyte MSI that I can then deploy out through domain deployment, GPO, PSExec, PDQ deploy. If you have an existing method of running a script, say another RMM platform, that also works great. And we also currently have in beta our ability to deploy through Active Directory. So giving you the ability to install the Ninja agent onto a domain controller and then deploy to specific OU paths automatically on either a scheduled basis or an ad hoc basis. Now, when I download this installer and run it on a machine, it's going to register to this organization and location. And why that's important is because that's how our automated policy mapping works. So when we go into the organization settings here, you'll see a menu option for policies on the left-hand side. Now, when we install the Ninja agent, we slot it into one of 3 different device types based on the operating system. So in this case, you can see we have desktop, laptop, and server. Ninja will auto-detect those for you, put your device into one of those 3 different slots, at which point we will then assign the policy that is selected from this drop-down menu. Now, why is this important? Why are policies important? It's how you're automating 80 to 90% of what you're doing with Ninja on a regular basis. So if we go into the OCP enforcement droid policy, I can see, first of all of my conditions, everything that I am monitoring and alerting for. This is where all that will be set up. We've got the standard ones, services, basic hardware metrics here at the top that you can see, monitoring services, processes, and process resources, Windows event IDs. I particularly like this for being able to filter out text within those event IDs so I can really keep the noise limited. Coming down even further, we can see monitoring software, RAID health status, even script result conditions. So any script output that you want to monitor yourself, anything in batch or PowerShell that you want to use to check, you can build your own custom monitors through this as well. Now, one thing I really like about any of these conditions is you can automatically respond to them with a script. And you can see an example here, print spooler service, fairly common example. The spooler goes down, well, we're running a script to go ahead and start it back up, try to reclaim some of the time in your day so that you don't have to worry about these little 5-minute issues that invariably turn into 10, 15, 30 minutes, sometimes longer. So that really helps from that aspect as well. And we're going to come back to this in a little bit because you can see right here with the ability to create a ticket. This is something that's going to be very important within Ninja ticketing. For now, let's stay focused on the endpoint side. Over on the left, you'll see that you also have the ability here to do scheduled scripts. So running a script across all devices within this policy. We can also handle our Windows patching settings. So this is where your patching settings are going to be set up at the policy level. Right here, you can see we have a scan schedule that's purely informational, finding out what KBs are available from Microsoft for that particular endpoint, returning that information to your dashboard so that you can then approve those KBs. And then right here, the update schedules where we take your approvals into account and we actually download and install the patches onto the machine. And you can see you have total control over your level of approval. What do you want to have automatically rejected, just straight out of the box rejected? You can always bring it back to life later if you'd like. What do you want to have manual approval over? So you want to have eyes on every single KB and then approve or reject them as you see fit, or the rubber stamp approach, which will allow you to just rubber stamp every single KB that comes through that channel and then install it on the endpoint. And of course, we can grab feature updates. You can see down here, grab the ability to select feature updates. I always recommend setting this to manual so that you have visibility on when your feature updates are going out. I know that's a huge concern, as well as driver updates. And I always recommend setting these to manual approval as well, because these do tend to be where you're going to have maybe an uptick in call volume from your customers. You want to make sure you have visibility on when those driver updates and when those feature updates are going out. You can also see our integrated antivirus deployment. This is where you would deploy either Bitdefender or Webroot, the two AVs that we natively integrate with. Right here, we have activities that you can select to create additional notifications. We'll come back to this part in a little bit. And then we also have our third-party patching as well. So we patch over 140 third-party applications. This is all powered by Ivanti if you've used them in the past. You can see very similar to the behavior of our Windows patching agent. And then here's where you would select the individual products that you would like to patch. So if I select the Adobe suite right here, this is a good example of our capabilities. You can see that we have 3 columns: critical patches, recommended patches, and then the ability to actually install the full version of the program if it is not already present on the endpoint. This is not available for every application. You can see some paid products like Adobe Acrobat have an NA over here. And so we don't have the ability to natively deploy that. You'd have to deploy it through a script. But Adobe Reader, the free version here, we can go ahead and change this no right here to a yes. So if I select Adobe Reader, go to edit here, I can then say, yes, install this application if it's not already present, while still retaining manual approval over the critical and recommended patches. So that's everything at the policy level. Let's go ahead and dive into the actual endpoint level. So what are you going to be doing with troubleshooting, directly managing your endpoints? So we can come here back to our main dashboard. Now, from the top level of the dashboard, you can do all of your approvals for OS as well as software patching. So you can see right here, any OS patches that are detected, anything that's pending, that would be anything in a manual state. I can then select them and then approve them for the policies. And of course, I mentioned earlier, anything that is rejected, I can always bring back to life as well. And that behavior is going to be the exact same for software patching. The one exception to this menu is going to be the inventory menu at the very top, which allows you to view the inventory that you have across all of your devices, since I'm at the top level of the dashboard, but it also gives you the ability to create uninstalls. So right here, if I want to go ahead and remove Adobe Reader, I do get the option to initiate a quiet uninstall at the top, which will allow me to quietly uninstall any applications. It does have to be a quiet uninstall, so no AV products are likely to work with this functionality, but anything supporting quiet uninstall will. So we'll go back to the main dashboard here. You can see we've got our heads up display, what devices are unhealthy. This has a failed backup. You can see right here, and we're going to be coming back to that one a little bit to talk about ticketing. And you can also click on any of these as of 5.3 so that we can view any devices that in this case, we can see this one has an unhealthy status. This is the one with the failed backup. If I wanted to see any devices that are just needing attention, I can click on this and then see these 3 devices right here that all have currently triggered alerts. I can go ahead and dive into my Omni Consumer Products organization here and see all that same information, now just limited to the devices inside of it. And I'll go ahead and dive into this device right here. So this is a great opportunity to view all the information that we're capturing on this device, things like the product key, the device name, the operating system, the build ID that we're running right here, even things like I come back in here and clear this out. We also on Dell, HP, Asus, Acer, and Lenovo machines are going to track the serial number natively. And if we copy that on the clipboard right there and then click on that link, it'll take us to Dell's page so that we can check up on the warranty status right here using this particular service tag. If we go into the details section, you get a lot of handy device details, including things like processor, memory, disk volume activity. We also track network adapter status as well. Very good handy information, especially say if you need to pull off the the serial number or the model number of a hard drive that's failed. You're going to process that RMA. Having that information right here, accessible, even if this device is offline, like this one is very handy. We also have our, if I navigate back to this device here that's currently online, you'll see that we have these remote tools that you can use. So Task Manager, these are all silent to the end user. So it gives you the ability to kill your processes in the background, stop and start services in the background. You can go ahead and upload or download files silently in the background using our File Explorer utility, and even make tweaks to the registry using our remote registry tool here. We also have these cool options, which allow me to go ahead and initiate command prompt or PowerShell terminals right from within the browser here. You'll see that this is protected by MFA. So I'm going to have to go ahead and actually open up a MFA app here and plug in my MFA code just to make sure that I am in fact who I say I am, that my browser session has not been hijacked in any way. And you'll see this as a periodic reminder. Every, I think 15 minutes is our default. You can of course modify that time in the security settings under accounts in configuration. You can see here a great way to take some quick action in the background, again, all silent to the end user, and they're not seeing any of this input. This is all hidden from whoever your end user is. And you can see that we can run this as system, which is the default level of access the Ninja agent has. We install and operate as a system level user and service, but you can also run this as the current logged on user as well. And anytime you go to run a script, say I wanted to go ahead and capture some AD information here, I could go ahead and choose what level of permissions I want to run this with, either system, the current logged on user, or if I've inputted elevated local or domain admin credentials, I can also run using those credentials as well. Now, if we come into the configuration menu here, you're going to see a branding tab. This allows you to create your own customizable sort of landing pad, your landing page here, where you can access this and white label the platform for your own organization with your own logo so that everything Ninja is hidden. But we also have this systray icon that I'm a big fan of, and we're going to be going back over this a lot. If I come in here, you should hopefully be able to see my Windows sandbox. And so I've loaded this up. I've installed Ninja on it for a demonstration purpose. If I go down here to the bottom right under my systray, and this is available on Macs as well as Linux devices. So you have complete feature parity with the systray icon across all three types of devices that we support, or all three operating systems that we support. So if I right click on this, you can see it gives me a couple different options. Now, one thing I really like about this right here is the ability to kind of input information manually. So I can tie it to the computer name, to the user account, the domain, as well as the IP address. I find this really streamlines the process of when people are calling up looking for troubleshooting support. Oftentimes they don't know the exact name of their device that they're on. So to streamline the process of finding that device, having this information in here so that you can right click, go to about, that really streamlines the process when you're on the phone with somebody who is requiring support. You can just say, read off that computer name, and then I can easily find that within the search bar of Ninja. Another thing I want to talk about here is the ability to launch simple commands. And what I'm doing here with my installing programs is I'm actually triggering a condition within Ninja using something that we have called custom fields. And to kind of show you what that looks like here, let me go ahead and pull this up. If I go into this systray icon, you can see I can build out a menu tree here. The help request form we'll talk about in a second. But right here, this is giving me the ability to launch a command prompt, closing that window, and then calling Ninja's command line interface utility, and then setting this flag in a custom field at the RMM level. So this is a great way for you to trigger conditions within Ninja from the systray icon, something that was not really previously possible prior to our 5.3 release, which again is out in the OC and EU now, and is coming out in North America starting tomorrow evening. So what that gives me the ability to do, if I come into my policies here, I can then create conditions that I'm monitoring. So I've already installed Chrome on this device, just to test to make sure it was still working. And then here you can see I'm going to go ahead and install Firefox. I can set this to match my custom field. I'm looking for my install Firefox custom field, looking to make sure that that box is checked. And once that box is checked, we'll then run a script, this script right here, to actually install the Firefox application. So if I come back in here, go down to the bottom, I can go to install programs, install Firefox right there, and I'll let that sit for a bit and marinate while we move on to other things. But this is going to go ahead and in short order install Firefox on this device.
Hey, Jeff, I want to stop you really quick because I see a ton of questions about pricing stuff. I want to stop those. The short answer is, for everyone who's asking about subscription and pricing and that, if you're a current partner, don't expect any changes to your pricing or your contract or any of that. You can always reach out to your account manager if you have specific questions, and I can make an additional statement about this at the end. But just because something's on the wheel doesn't mean there's a cost associated to it, and don't expect any pricing changes on, from your account manager or anyone reaching out asking for more money anytime soon. So just to stop additional questions coming in. Go ahead, Jeff.
Thank you, Pete. So now let's go ahead and talk a little bit about custom fields and how they're going to be set up. I'm just going to go over this briefly because I want to cover it in a little bit more depth later on in the call. But right here, role custom fields and global custom fields. Role-based, that's tied to a device type, so a laptop, desktop, server. But global fields, these are going to go to everybody. You can see this is where I created the ability here I created these as checkboxes. You can see the different types of fields that we have. Attachments, if you want to store up to 20 megabytes of an attachment, purely a checkbox. You can also create your own drop-down menus, multi-select menus right from within the Ninja platform, as well as secure fields, which will allow you to store passwords in a safe and secure manner, protected by MFA. And we also, with 5.3, are adding in WYSIWYG fields so that you have the ability to kind of type in and format your text directly as you want. Now, like I said, we do have the ability with 5.3 to create conditions based off of that. So I would come in here, come into my install Firefox setting, and then say, all right, custom fields. Again, this is new in 5.3, so available now in the OC and EU starting tomorrow evening with North America. And you can see here, I'm just looking for this custom field right here. What's triggering it is the box being checked. Now you can do this manually as well. I really want this to be triggered by the systray action because I want it to act as sort of a self-service portal for my end users. But you could also come directly into the device. Like if I come to my device right here, go into my custom fields, and you can see that we already triggered that condition there. You can see that this install Firefox checkbox, this was already checked by the script that we executed from the systray. So now I'm going to go ahead and uncheck it, and then I can reset my alert and not have that script be running over and over again. I intended to put a script in there that would clear that flag, and I forgot to do it. So you can set that up from the policy level to have a sort of secondary script close the loop essentially. So after you install the application, you then run another script that would set this checkbox back to no. That way the script would not kind of go over and over again. We can see here, right here, we can see that Firefox has been installed. So now if I come into my sandbox here, you can see not just Google Chrome, but actually Firefox has been installed on this device. So you can see a very handy way to sort of execute self-service actions here. Going even further, I would say you can automate other actions from here, such as new device setup. You could have a checkbox here that says new device setup. Once you check that box, it would then execute a series of scripts you could use to provision a brand new device, installing new applications, joining it to the domain, even setting things like the Wi-Fi profile automatically so that you don't have to give out passwords. All great options here. Another aspect that I really like about custom fields is the ability to create additional searches here. And now we're going to talk about the search menu, which I think is an incredibly powerful part of Ninja. One of my favorite menus. There's just so much that you can do here. You can take direct action on devices here. So if I select this device that is online, you can see that I have the ability to run scripts, initiate reboots. If I had patching turned on for third-party or Windows patching, I would be able to also kick off those ad hoc third-party and Windows patching scans. I can create a scheduled task here. I can also move this device to a different org or location. I can also directly assign the policy as well. I mentioned earlier that policies are automatically mapped based on the device type within the organization. This gives you the ability to sort of more directly assign what policy is assigned to a device. But you also get all these cool filters up here at the top. So obviously organization, I can do location within an organization. I can do the individual type of device, say desktop, laptop, or server. And then I can also do this based on status. So maybe I only want to see devices that are up, meaning they're online and connected to Ninja. I can select that filter there, and it'll just give me devices that are connected over here on the right-hand side. But I'm going to go ahead and clear that filter out. I did want to show an example of how you could potentially automate a lot of different processes, but I'll use BitLocker as the example. One of the filters that we have here is the ability to natively track BitLocker status. So whether BitLocker is enabled, disabled, or in an unknown state. And I find this particularly useful for enabling BitLocker because I can say, all right, find me everybody in this organ location who has BitLocker disabled. I could then save this up here and say this is a BitLocker disabled group. And then I can then run a script across this group. So essentially automating the process of identifying which devices need to run a script using Ninja to do it. So if I've already created a group up here, I can see BitLocker disabled for my OCP organization. It'll show me the devices that are currently having BitLocker disabled. If I go into configuration and then tasks, I've created a task already to enable BitLocker. And I've added my script in here. This is available in our dojo. This is a script from Kelvin at CyberDrain. And right here, I have the ability to set my schedule. I'm going to do it on Saturdays. I don't want the encryption process to bog down the endpoints during the week. And then if I go into targets, this is where we get sort of a lot of flexibility to run scheduled scripts. Obviously, in the policy level, you have the ability to run scheduled scripts. That's more of a sledgehammer approach. It's going to run across all devices on that policy. You don't really get the ability to individually target. That's why we have tasks here. So I can select an organization or multiple organizations, but that's not really going to respect any of the other filters that I created earlier. I'm looking for devices that have BitLocker disabled. I don't just want to run this blankly across everything. I could select the individual device here. Obviously, that's going to get tedious the more devices that you have inside of Ninja. And then right here, we have our search groups. So this is a great way to go ahead and automatically identify who has, oops. Oh, I already added it in, which is why it's not showing up. So you can see here, I have my BitLocker disabled OCP group. I'm only running the script to enable BitLocker across the devices that Ninja has identified do not have BitLocker currently enabled. Now I'm using BitLocker as an example. I use it all the time, but you can see here with our additional filters, there's a lot of other things that you could do. You could automate software deployment by finding everybody who does not have a particular version of a piece of software here. And of course, any filters that we don't already have, you can also use custom fields to sort of make up the gap. So right here, one of the services that one of the filters we don't have is services, identifying a service installed on a particular machine. However, that's a very simple bit of PowerShell. You can then write that into a custom field within Ninja. And I have actually already done that. So now I can come into my custom fields. I can find, all right, services. Find me anybody who has any form of RDP service installed, just type RDP in there, and then that would show me, oh, I got this one device that actually does have an RDP service installed, so I might want to take action on that, make sure it isn't disabled. I could even run a script across all the machines that have that service installed and make sure on a consistent basis that that service is in fact disabled. So a lot of really cool things we can do here. But now I want to go ahead and move on to the backup side of things and talk about Ninja data protection. So we'll go ahead and go into configuration here and then into integrations. And you'll see a backup tab right here. If you are interested in this, please reach out to your account manager and we can get this turned on for you if you're an existing customer. This is just where you set up the cloud storage that you're going to use. And I did enter this earlier in the chat, I believe, or in the Q&A, but this is a built-in house solution. This is not a third-party product. This is built by Ninja engineers who work at Ninja and work every day on making it better. So it is an in-house product here. And then we'll go ahead. That's step one, is just turning it on. Step two is going to be going into your organizations and selecting the exact devices that you'd like to back up. So right here, I'll go down to my backups engine, make sure that I have the engine selected. I can do either all devices in this organization, or I can do only a select few devices, and I get complete control over my bandwidth throttling. So if you do want to throttle the bandwidth, or if you don't, you can leave this unchecked. But if you do, you can check the box here, and you can make sure, all right, during work hours, when people are in the office, I want to make sure that I'm not kind of taking over the bandwidth and nothing works, the VPN's broken, nothing works at the individual location. But then after work hours are over, I can really open up the throttle, maybe a bit optimistic on the speed there, but I do get complete control over what the work hours and work days are down here. Now, one thing that we have added in with our image beta, if anybody has been using that, but is going live tomorrow night with that 5.3 release here in North America, is the ability to back up to local storage in addition to backing up to the cloud. To do that, you'll go into your network storage path here. You can see I already have a NAS set up. Just need to give me the UNC path as well as the credentials, which you can then input above here. Now, one useful thing about this is that you do get the option to test the credentials, and you can test from the device. So you can ensure that your device that you're testing does actually have network access to that particular NAS. And this one does, perfect. Now you can also set your network storage. You would need to set it for the organization. So right here, I would set my network storage for the entire organization. But if you have distinct physical locations where each physical location has their own NAS, their own file server, and you want to make sure that your backups operate correctly and go to the right spot, just come into the locations menu here, and then you can select what backup NAS should be in use at each individual location, and we can keep that straight for you. That is step two. So that's determining the exact devices we'd like to back up. And step three is going to be coming into our policies and setting up our backup plans. So for file and folder, that's our incremental block level backup solution. That's going to be giving you the ability to determine the files and folders that you would like to back up. We can come in here and then view our data recovery file and folder plan, our power options. We can prevent the device from going to sleep and timing out. We can use Wake on LAN to wake it up if your environment supports that, or we can just run the backup plan as soon as the offline device comes back online. You get complete control over your retention. So this is where you establish your retention. You can leave it unchecked and just do sort of an indefinite retain. However, that would probably eat up your storage pretty quickly. So at that point, you can come in here, limit your individual number of file changes, limit your revisions based on age. I really, really like this last option here, the ability to remove locally deleted files. So anything your end users have actually already gotten rid of, while still keeping the last revision of the locally deleted file. So that way, I call it the security blanket effect. Somebody comes in, says, hey, I deleted this thing from 2 weeks ago. Is there any chance that you have it? And of course we do, with this option being checked. And you can see here the ability, this is going just to the cloud, but you do have the ability here to do cloud only, local only, or a hybrid backup, which would first go to the NAS and then sync to the cloud. Under folders is where you would select exactly what you'd like to back up. You can either do a common folder option. So in this case, I selected user profile, which is a good option because it'll back up not just one user profile, but every user profile on that machine. You can also select public profile as well as the program data and common start menu. You can also include path to a specific folder here. Maybe I want to capture the entire C drive, but I can also exclude certain folders as well. Come in here and say, hey, I need to go ahead and make sure that this particular folder here is excluded, but I want to make sure I grab everything else.
Hey, Jeff, I want to interrupt really quick.
Yeah, please,
There's a
please.
question about backup storage limits that I want to address really quick, and then also what type of backup we offer. So first, on backup storage limits, there are no technical backup storage limits. If you're backing up locally, you can back up whatever you want to your device. If you're backing up to the cloud, again, you can back up anything you want. But you pay for storage, so it'll be limited by your willingness to pay for that storage, right? We actually just found out today that there is a single file 5 terabyte limit imposed by AWS that we're looking to address. We found it out like 5 minutes before this call, so just passing that on. But that's it. There are no other storage limits. And then I've seen a couple questions about like what can I back up and what can I not. So as of today, Ninja Data Protection is Windows only, and we have file and folder options as well as full image options. So you can do either. Those products over time, or those two solutions, are really going to end up merging together, so they won't be separate solutions. But so as of today, we do not do VM backups via the host. You can back up the data that's on a virtual machine by putting the Ninja agent on the machine, but you can't do it via host as of today, although that is in our roadmap. So I've seen those two questions a couple of times, so I just wanted to answer those.
No, thank you. And I am not doing a good job of keeping an eye on chat while talking, so thank you, Pete. And yeah, it is Windows only currently. You can see here one additional option that we are adding in here. This is, again, something that comes out with that 5.3 release, which is the ability to override our default exclusions. So there were, and for the file and folder solution, there were quite a few default exclusions, and we are giving you the ability to override those. You can see right here, let's say I want to go ahead and make sure I capture exe files. I can go ahead and include that. Removing that exclusion. You can also add in your own exclusions if you have specific extensions you'd like to make sure are not included, but you can also do inclusions as well. And this is, I think, where it comes in handy of maybe doing 2 separate plans, one that backs up the majority of the hard drive, say every week, every month, whatever schedule works for you, but then also doing more frequent backups that only capture critical files like PDF files, Excel files, doc files. That can also be very handy as well. Now, Pete did mention our image. This is currently in a beta. Unless something changed, Pete, please let me know. But right here, you can see that we have our schedule, daily, weekly, and monthly. Similar options here to the file and folder side, but difference in terms of exactly what files and folders you want to back up. We're just selecting partitions here since we're backing up the entire disk and just zeroing out any unused space. So you can do all partitions. You can do system partition. If you are doing the custom partition, just make sure that you grab the system partition when you specify, because if you don't grab the system partition, you won't be able to do bare metal restore. And here you can see the option to do either cloud only, local only, or that hybrid backup that I mentioned earlier. Now, what does this look like inside of Ninja Backup, in terms of managing all those this data? So let's close out here and let's go into our top dashboard here. Now we can see we have a failed backup. I'm going to talk about that in just a second. But right here, we can see our backup dashboard. So this allows me to see, okay, what cloud storage is in use for all devices, what's local storage is in use for devices, what have my backup plans looked like over here. I've had some successes, I've had some warnings, I've had some that have failed outright. And so now to view that, I can go into my history here. So right here, you can see my history, trying to make a backup fail and eventually hit on using Windows Sandbox. It will not allow you to back up an image with Windows Sandbox here. And so you can see here, I have a file issue that I had here, and we're going to see how we can take that failure and then incorporate that in the Ninja ticketing. I'll talk about that in just a few minutes. Right here, we can see any jobs that are currently running. And then right here is where we're going to manage our usage. So I've backed up 2 different devices here. I've got this laptop for a junior executive, and then I've got Ed 209 here. So I'm going to go ahead and go into this one here. I can go into manage. You can see I've got multiple backup plans here. So I can go into each individual one like this and kind of go in and say, all right, well, I want to maybe download this particular file here. And you'll see over on the right-hand side, I get the option to initiate a download, which is just locally downloading that file to my own device. And I could then email it out, host it on something, and send it to the customer or whoever you're working with here. But I love this option here. This is the ability to restore. Now you can restore directly to the device. You can see here we're on our junior exec laptop here. I can restore to that device. However, what if this device is bricked? What if this device is broken and I need to get critical data off of this device to another device? Well, and of course, it's going to tell me no online devices are available, but I would then restore to another device that also has Ninja Backup enabled in this organization. I have a feeling that because I'm using Windows Sandbox here, that is why it is not giving me the ability to restore. But that I would then restore to that other online device. I would then go ahead and choose how I want to handle any file name conflicts. And then last but not least, I would select the exact revision I want to use of this file. Do I want something from today? Do I want something from last week? Do I want something from last month? It all depends on your retention and what you want to restore to. Now for our image side of things, that's going to look slightly differently. That would be then a utility that you would install locally on the desktop here. And I'll go ahead and pull up a different environment and show you how that works here. So let's go ahead and look at this device right here. I'll go into manage it. Now you can see I have file and folder as well as image. And actually just to show you that this does in fact work, I can come in here, find my frequently changing file, then restore that. Now we have our Hyper-V server here that if this is offline, I can then restore to another device, a completely different device in the exact same organization. I can then choose the folder I want to restore to as well as my file name conflicts. But then for the image side of things, we'll come back in here. I can see all the different revisions that I have of my image. Over on the right-hand side, I have my ability to download the Image Restore Manager. So this is where I'm going to go ahead and actually install this tool here. I will also need an Image Restore key. So this is going to allow me to essentially an encryption key that allows me to access the image file here. I am a speed reader. And then we can come in here and to create bootable media for a USB drive or ISO if you'd prefer. You can see these options right here. We have the ability to restore the image, and this is where I would need the authorization key. This is if your device actually boots up and you want to restore to an image. If your machine is offline, at that point, you would need to boot into that bootable media I showed earlier. I can select my restore authorization key and then choose the restore point that I want to select and then restore to on this device. You can also download an image if you want to retain it, but then this is a really cool option down here at the bottom, which is driver injection. So if you're going from an older IBM server to a newer Dell server, a newer HPE server, chances are your drivers are going to be quite different. And so to make sure that you don't have issues with your RAID, you don't have issues with your NIC card, that everything is working seamlessly, you can use this feature here. You do have to have the Windows ADK installed, do some driver injection, and that way you have a much more seamless experience than trying to hunt drivers, especially if you've already restored. And at that point, you're trying to, maybe even get the mouse or keyboard to work. That can sometimes be a struggle. I have done it enough times in the past.
Hey, Jeff, I
Yeah.
hate to do this, but we are at 10 minutes to the hour. Definitely want to cover ticketing and cross.
Absolutely. Absolutely. So we're going to go ahead and go back into my other environment here and talk about ticketing. So of course you have the ability to manually open a ticket by going to the plus sign in the top right. You could then generate your new ticket or new ticket using a specific form here if you already know what form you'd like to use. You can also have tickets be emailed in. So if I come into configuration and then integrations, you'll see our ticketing module here. I can select my domain. I have put Omni Consumer Products in here, and I want to use that domain to create all of my emails. Now, you can see here, I've created a ton of different emails. I've broken this down so that everybody is being tagged appropriately when tickets are sent in. So let's say if somebody emails into robotics support, I can make sure that the robotics tag is added. If I want to specify a form, a type, priority, and severity, I can do that as well. And although I do not have it set up in this environment, if you are using an external email address, say support@yourcompany.com, you can set that up so those tickets get auto-forwarded into Ninja. We just need to have your email address set up here. And if you'd like to have us send out emails on your behalf, you can add an SPF record so that Ninja Ticketing can send outbound emails using your name. That is another feature available in 5.3 starting tomorrow evening. Now let's talk about another way to open up tickets, which is my personal favorite, which is the sys-tray icon that I mentioned earlier. So coming back into my sandbox here, I can come down to my Omni Consumer Products logo, and I have my help request form. Now this generates this little pop-up box. And again, this is available on Mac, Linux, in addition to Windows. I just need a subject, the body here, any images that I might want to attach, and it does give me the ability to easily take a screenshot right here or attach an image file if I already have one. And then I can input my first and last name in addition to my email and phone number. And then when I send that in, that is then going to create a ticket inside of Ninja Ticketing. Now, one really cool thing about this is that that's going to automatically associate the organization, the location, the device, but then also the user. So you can have the user, when they input that information there, you can then use that to automatically create them as a contact. So that way you have their information already stored in your system. You can reach out to them by email, via phone. It's already going to be stored within Ninja. Different environment. So if we come back in here, I can go into accounts and then see my contacts. I've got all my OCP contacts right here. I can then come into my ticketing module and I would see that ticket right in here. Now I've got a couple other tickets that I've had opened up here. This bottom one here, I mentioned earlier the backup job that failed. I'm creating this using a notification channel, sending out an email into Ninja Ticketing so that I can be notified anytime there is an issue with backup failing. So right here, I can see Ninja backup failed, the OCP image local backup job failed there. So this makes it very easy. I even have an automated message right here, sending it to myself saying, hey, we are your MSP, essentially. We are investigating reports of a failed backup. And that's where we really get into some cool things with automation inside of Ninja Ticketing. So right here, let's go and talk about some of that automation. We can see we've got an entire automation tab here. Now, any of your conditions that you have set up within Ninja Ticketing, you can then use those to go ahead and automatically open up a ticket. So if I come into policies here, I'll go into this policy and then look at the very top. I've got my print spooler condition that I had set up earlier. So right here, what we're doing is print spooler goes down. Well, down here at the bottom, I have my ticketing rule set up to create a ticket using a specific rule intended for the print spooler. Now, what does that do? If I come back into my integrations here and look at my automation rule that I set up, you can see that whenever this condition triggers, we're going to then create a ticket. Simple enough. However, let's say the condition resets. And that's where things get interesting. I mentioned that any condition you have within Ninja, you can then respond to that with a script, potentially automatically resolving it. And in fact, the example I'm about to show you does just that. This was a ticket. I stopped the print spooler manually. Ninja then ran a script to start that spooler, start that service again. And then we had this go in and then automatically resolve the ticket. So instead of having 800 tickets that are opened all the time, once that gets resolved, it'll automatically resolve it and even add time to the ticket. And then if the condition does retrigger, we can then append that to the existing email. So let's go ahead and do a quick example here. I'm going to jump to my device, my test device here. I'm going to go into my Windows services, and then I'm going to scroll down here and go ahead and stop this print spooler. So right here, I have the print spooler. I'm going to go ahead and stop that right there. Yes, I am sure. And we're about to see another ticket go ahead and potentially go ahead and change this back to open. And this is what it looks like here, my initial creation of this ticket. This was a ticket automatically opened by Ninja. You can see it is already associated with the proper device. It's already associated with the proper organization and location. And the great thing about this is if you want to go ahead and start troubleshooting this issue, I can go ahead and click on this device and it will take me right into that device. So quick, seamless, one click, you immediately get into the device. You could initiate a remote access session, command prompt, PowerShell terminals, any of our tools here if you wanted to manually start it. Great options.
Hey, Jeff, do you mind if I
Yeah,
interrupt real quick?
yeah, please, please.
There's some chatter about an easier way to submit a ticket than this history icon, and I want to briefly show our end user portal if you don't mind.
Absolutely. I can show that on my end if you'd like.
Oh, perfect.
Yeah. So let me go ahead and come in here. So now you're familiar with this view. This is me logged in as a technician. Policies, reports, I have access to everything. However, you also have the ability to give somebody end user access. And what that looks like is this. Much more limited view. You're not seeing everything. You have a much more limited access to the platform. This was originally designed to sort of facilitate remote access. It actually came out shortly before COVID took over everything, but it's been invaluable over the last 18, 20 months, giving people the ability to remotely access their machines using your existing subscription. You do also have the ability, we spoke about Ninja Backup earlier, to go ahead and make this sort of a self-service portal. So if you want to give your end users the ability to sort of view what is being backed up and even download it, they cannot restore or delete any data, but they do have the ability, if they check a box, to download that over on the right-hand side. And then this naturally, I think, falls into ticketing as well. And so you can see here the ability to create a brand new ticket. Just give us the summary, give us the body of the email here, as well as the severity. This is going to be expanded further in 2022, giving the ability to sort of assign particular forms that the end user might have to fill out, allowing you to enforce the proper data collection, essentially, through the end user portal. So very exciting times there. This is another way to go ahead and create your end users right under configuration and accounts. You can see me as an end user here. I only have access to the features that I am assigned here. You can see splash top as well as backup, and then the individual devices that I have access to as well. I can do either one device or 20 devices. Pete, anything you wanted to tag on while I have this open?
No, we're tight on time, so let's move forward.
Got it. Back out here. So let's go ahead and talk about more of the automations that we can do, because I think that's a huge function of Ninja ticketing and what you have the ability to do here. I was speaking just a moment ago about how you can automatically create a ticket using our condition rules and using our script rules. You can also automate commonly used responses as well, something we're calling response templates, canned responses. But what this does is it gives us the ability here. Let's say I have a backup that's failed. Maybe I want to go ahead and automatically fill out a lot of this information here. You can see that I have the ability to add tags. I can also remove tags, and I can also set tags, which essentially wipes out any existing tags and puts only what you want to have set to that ticket. You can also update the ticket status, severity, priority, and summary. And you can also add somebody to be automatically copied in here, as well as add a comment. And so what I really like about this is it gives me the ability here. I can go ahead and make sure my backup tag is assigned. I can set the severity and priority to high. I can change the summary, and I can even add a comment in here with just the click of a button. So if I come back out of here and go into my backup failed right here, I can then go ahead, set my response here, and then use my backup fail template saying, hey, we're investigating reports of a failed backup. You can see I already kind of did this earlier, setting the tags, setting the priority, setting the severity. Again, sort of automating that process of what you might normally have to click 8, 10 times to get set, you can do now with just the click of a button right here. We also have the ability to split this ticket and then merge this ticket. You can see that I have time that was being tracked. And even though we navigated away from this ticket, that timer persisted. It's still going on. It's still capturing time. If that's something you need to capture here, I can also pause this. I can modify what time is currently in place here. Maybe I've been working on this for more like 10 minutes, pick up where I left off. I can also reset this entirely if I'd like, and I can also modify time after the fact. So right here, if I want to say, actually, this took more like 5 minutes, I can then set that, modify my time, even though that event has already occurred. But of course, we have complete auditing over any changes that were made. You can see that I updated the time tracked here. Any changes that I made to the ticket, this is all audited within Ninja Ticketing. And you do have both public response and private notes. Public response is going to go to everybody who is copied on this ticket, the requester, the assignee, anybody copied, but then a private note is going to be visible only to people who are currently logged into the Ninja Web GUI, who are currently technicians. Those are going to be the only people who can see these private notes here.
All right, Jeff, I think we're going to stop the demo. I think we had a little bit more planned, but I definitely want to answer some questions. And I want to wrap up just a couple quick notes on slides. I know it's less exciting, but please bear with us. All right, so the first thing I want to share, we had a bunch of questions about pricing. So the big thing is a lot of the modules in Ninja don't have separate pricing. They come bundled into the endpoint management package, whether that be Ninja Pro or Ninja Basic. You can always reach out to get specifics. There's a lot of volume-based discounting and all of that. So it's based on what you want to use and how many endpoints you have. So reach out if you're not a current partner. Whether you're a current partner or not, we do have a new end-of-year backup promo that I think you guys will find exciting. So we have decided on this promo to divorce storage from licenses. Because we can now do local backup for file and folder and image. You can get backup on all of your endpoints, your workstations for $3, your servers for $20 with no storage, and then $10 per 250 gigabytes. That's pooled across all of your endpoints. We think this is really, really price competitive in the market. So if you're doing backup or want to get into backup or interested in switching, try it out, get it turned on. If you're a current partner, you can trial it for free. If you're not a current partner, you can trial it in the trial. One additional caveat to that I think is really cool is that if you back up all of your RMM backups, all of your RMM managed workstations, you can get workstation backup license only for $1. So every single workstation that has a Ninja RMM agent on it, if you also put backup on it, you can get that for $1 plus storage. And again, that storage is pooled across your endpoints. If this promotion is incredibly successful, it's something we will continue for the foreseeable future. That being said, if you do purchase this by the end of the year, because we know that you're going to want to continue this across all of your endpoints once you use it, you will be locked into this pricing for 2 years if you want to expand your portfolio. So you buy 100 today and you want 150 in January, it's still going to be at this price point, which I think is pretty compelling. And with that, I'm going to hand it off to Lisa, our director of demand generation, to talk about swag and gift cards.
Hey guys, so I always get to say I get to come in for the fun part. So I wanted to share a couple of quick things with you before we move on to questions, because I know we've had so many people online joining us today. So thank you all so much. For our hopefully soon to be new Ninja friends, we are currently running a really fun promotion. If you see a demo of NinjaOne, really jump on with a product specialist and see it specialized for you guys and for your team and get the chance to ask one-on-one questions. We'll go ahead, we'll send you some of our first ever NinjaOne swag. We're really excited about this. So we want to make sure that you're excited too. And then for our current Ninja users and friends, I know that you all will be very excited to hear about swag as well. So please feel free to reach out to your account manager at the moment, and we'll see what we can do to get some swag out to you. And then very fun, our $250 gift card winner is David Fultzer. So congratulations, David. We'll reach out to you one-on-one to make sure we get that over to you. And I will turn this back over to the guys to wrap everything up. But thank you all so much.
All right. Thanks so much, Lisa. That's everything we have planned. We have a ton of questions. We are up on time. So if you've got to leave, please drop off. But if not, we can start answering questions. Jeff, do you want to share your screen as we go through these?
Absolutely.
Awesome. I'm going to start at the bottom, unfortunately, but we did not get to cover documentation. Documentation is a pretty quick run through. We can show you it briefly on the screen now. And I'm going to talk through some other things while Jeff, Jeff, go ahead.
Okay, sure. So essentially documentation, I mentioned custom fields earlier, and I would describe documentation as an extension of custom fields, but more tied to collecting institutional knowledge. So right here, you can see documentation fields are available at the org level. This is available inside of Ninja today. You do not have to email anybody. You just go to configuration and then integrations, and you'll see the documentation tab. Go ahead and enable that. We have imported a few different templates. You can see here, everybody will have access to 14 templates here that are just useful ones out of the box. Just check the box here and then save, and that'll add those all into your own documentation instance. You can, of course, also create your own customizable pages. Right here, I can then create select fields tied to this specific document template. So now if I come back into this organization, you can see here under Globex, we have Active Directory information. So what's the AD short name? What's the password? What are my domain controllers? Even storing things like attachments right here from within Ninja. I've got access to a PDF. I can view my server contract. I've got it broken down by offices as well. And you can also export the information that we're seeing here currently into a CSV format. You can also come in here into application. You can see, if we've got different SaaS applications here, what's the login, what's the password. We also have our contract here, API tokens stored in secure fields. One cool thing that we are seeing with our 5.3 release is the ability to read from these fields. So with our custom fields at the device level, most of those fields you can both read and write from. There's a couple exceptions. You can't read from a secure field. There's security concerns over that. We don't want to allow somebody to basically pull credentials out of a secure field and then have it in plain text in the script. So that's being worked on, but currently today you can't reference a secure field within a script. And also attachments. I know this is something I think Chris Thomas mentioned earlier, is we do not currently have the ability to do sort of an out file in PowerShell and then have that stored inside of an attachment. So not currently possible today. But let's talk about a potential use case here in a different organization. Let's go back to Omni Consumer Products, documentation, and then under application here, you can see I've added in Bitdefender Gravity Zone. So what I'm going to do here is I'm going to run a script to install Bitdefender Gravity Zone. Now, previously, this is something where you would have to then create sort of an individual script for each company if that were each different package that you wanted to deploy. But with the documentation fields here, this really streamlines the process so that you can create just one script and then run that across all of your devices. But using a custom field, pulling that from documentation, you can automatically reference whatever your key is, whatever your package ID is, and then have that automatically referenced within the script. So if I go into configuration here, scripting, and I look for my install Bitdefender Gravity Zone script, you can see right here at the top, I'm defining my package ID variable. By doing that, I am pulling from my documentation field under application, Gravity Zone, and then my license key field. So that's where I'm defining my variable. Here's where I'm downloading Gravity Zone. I'm storing it in a particular location here. I'm downloading the MSI wrapper that Bitdefender provides. And then here I'm testing my location, creating this, putting it into an MSI here, and then finally doing an MSI exec call to call that installer. But right here, Gravity Zone supports that package ID here. This is where I'm pulling that package ID that's stored in documentation. So again, instead of having to create one of these scripts and then manually type in the package ID for each individual package that you're looking to deploy, if you're doing this on a per customer basis, you can then automatically store that information within Ninja and then reference that within your scripts. So you can see here sort of the cross-platform workflows that we're trying to get to. We're trying to make this information accessible to you across the entire platform, and documentation. I think I saw a few questions on that about what's going to be coming in the future. And I don't want to get too stuck in roadmap questions, but yeah, things like a knowledge base, things like end user access. So something like MyGlue, if you've used that in the past, but sort of the ability to have your end users access this information to them. Ninja is, they wouldn't think of Ninja as an RMM platform. They wouldn't even know devices are associated with Ninja. They might think of Ninja as just being the place where they go to get their institutional knowledge, where they go to get user manuals, where they go to get contracts and PDF attachments, where they go to get passwords, login credentials. Having that all stored within Ninja is where we're going with the documentation field. You're seeing obviously a beta version, something that is an early iteration of it. It's quite functional for storing data, but we're just looking to expand the functionality drastically in the next 6 months of what documentation can do.
I have a bunch of rapid fire answers, hopefully that I can do. And thank you, Jeff. I'm just that was a fantastic overview. A couple of things. The backup pricing that we covered, that was per endpoint per month. And then you obviously add on storage costs. That's one. All of our products are, so ticketing, documentation, backup, those are all 100% proprietary, built in-house. They weren't bought, integrated, stuffed in. They're built natively in Ninja. Back to backup pricing, that $1 for full adoption for workstations for Ninja data protection is only for workstations. Servers still sit at $20 plus storage. Let's see. I'm trying to rapid fire as many of these as possible. Local backup. If you want to do local backup only, you don't have to buy cloud storage. You can buy the license and then back up locally to a NAS drive, and you're good. On backup, the question, are backups immutable? I don't know if I can answer that question directly. Maybe Jeff, you can. What I can say is that no one has access to backups. Backups are stored in AWS. They can't be accessed after the fact except to restore. They can't be changed. I guess that would mean they're immutable. So they are ransomware resistant. There is no way to go in and infect them after the backup has already occurred. That being said, you need your retention settings set up in such a way that you have them long enough. Like if you're only storing for a day, that could cause you some problems because the older ones that weren't ransomed could be, could go away. So, you need to make sure you're setting your retention correctly. How do we restore these backups? Damien, we went over restores, but if you'd like to see that in person, go ahead and reach out. Joseph asks, can ticket boards be used for non-IT ticketing? We built it for IT ticketing workflows, but you can use it however you'd like to if you're a Ninja partner. Let's see. Will the backup solution store local copy, then copy same backup to cloud? So when we do a hybrid, Jeff, do we do the NAS first and then sync to cloud, or do we do both of them separately?
No, you had it correct. We do it to the NAS first, and then the backup that we create for the NAS is then synced to the cloud.
Okay. John Wood asked about Active Directory. We have both Active Directory user management and Active Directory discovery and deployment. Both of those are in beta currently. John, I'm assuming you're a current partner. If you want to see those, go ahead and reach out to your account manager. We may just need to turn them on in the back end so you have access to them. I know discovery and deployment, because of potential security implications, you'll need to, we need to turn on for you, and we need to give you an overview. So go ahead and reach out to your account manager for Active Directory management.
And I did see a question there about how to use placeholders for ticket automations, and I did want to make sure to show that functionality, either event-based, time-based, or the response templates that I mentioned. I'll just do an event-based one because this is not something that we talked about, but essentially you can create automated actions based off of conditions inside of a ticket. So let's say we want to take if anybody has said urgent anywhere at all in the summary, and maybe want to limit this so it has to be from Omni Consumer Products, and maybe it also has to be a high priority ticket. You can then take certain automated actions like adding tags. We mentioned that earlier, but you could also just email somebody. So we can email somebody and say, hey, you are the assignee, and we can use these placeholders. So right here, you can see all the placeholders we can automatically reference from within the ticket. So let's say I want to use the assignee first name here. Hey, assignee first name, this is now a high priority ticket. You need to jump on this right away to make sure that we get this dealt with before we run outside the SLA. And you can also do time-based actions as well. So you can see here that was event-based, time-based, giving you additional options based on if, say, it's been X number of hours since the customer has last responded, let's say 24 hours, we could then send an automated reminder email. Hey, could you please, respond to this ticket? And again, you can use these options here to refer to them by their first, last name, or their complete name if you prefer.
Awesome. I see a couple questions about the mobile app. So for those of you who don't know, we have a mobile app for Android and iOS that allows you to do all of your endpoint management via the mobile app. Not everything is in there, but you may have to do some configuration in the web app, but a lot of the actions and data are available, alerts are available. The intention, and they are under development currently, is to have documentation, ticketing, and I believe backup, but I'm not positive about backup, available in the Ninja app in the not too distant future. I can't give you a direct date on those, unfortunately.
I also wanted to touch base real quick on, I'm seeing a lot of questions about integrations and how you might be able to integrate Ninja with other products. And again, right now, no direct integrations with anything Ninja ticketing. We're focusing on getting the product built first before we consider anything like that. But I did want to point you to something called notification channels, which is something currently in backup beta. So what you can do here is add in, say, a Slack or PagerDuty integration. And those are really cool options because they'll send alerts that you configure to either Slack or PagerDuty, but you can then reset the alert from right within either of those two options. If your system accepts webhooks, you can also automatically send webhooks out. You can send out an email to either one person or multiple people. You do get multiple people on the email distribution option, and then you can also send out via SMS. So any other services that you're looking to integrate, whether it's something like Zapier, you could send a webhook, you could send an email, sort of notifying them that a certain action has taken place. So no direct integrations now, but I would point you to that notification channels feature, and then leveraging that inside of the ticketing system, because you can then create automations here. Let's say a time-based automation. If it's been, X number of minutes since a customer responded, I can then send the notification via email, SMS, or Slack currently. So sending those to outside contact points would be probably where I'd recommend leveraging any sort of integrations that you want to take with the Ninja platform, and specifically regarding ticketing.
A couple other questions here around ticketing and integration. So the first is we do have ConnectWise ConnectWise Manage and AutoTask integrations natively, as well as Acello. They can fully replace Ninja Ticketing. We like Ninja Ticketing better, but you can fully replace it with those integrations. You won't have to do any custom work. That's all set up for you. If you're not using one of those, there is a question about there's an additional question here about users. So with Ninja Ticketing, you can use both Ninja Ticketing and ConnectWise Automate or ConnectWise Manage or AutoTask, but they won't speak to each other. The next one here from Pete on ticketing is number of seats, right? Like you can have as many people using Ninja Ticketing as you want. If you're a technician or an admin in Ninja, you can have access to Ninja Ticketing. That's not a problem. So you can have as many admins or technicians as you want having access to Ninja Ticketing. Okay, I think we are a bit over time, and I want to be respectful of everyone's time. A couple plugs to if you didn't get your question answered. If you're a current partner, Jeff and I actually do partner office hours about once a month. You can come on there and ask any question you want, and we'll do a live walkthrough for you, help you use Ninja better. So reach out to your account manager to get that information. That's one. Two, if you're super excited and want to ask us more questions, we are doing one later today, another webinar later today if you need to get on and ask questions. And then third, you can always reach out to us or your account managers with any questions that you have. We're happy to answer them. And I think with that, we can wrap up our time. And thank you all so much for joining us. Thank you so much for your engagement. And we hope to see you in the Ninja ecosystem in the near future.
Thanks, everyone. Have a wonderful day.
Take care, everybody.